sure you know, is a CPB-funded collaboration between the Association of Public Television Stations, APTS, and DEI, the fundraising service organization for public radio. The Grant Center's mission is to connect public radio and television with federal and foundation grant opportunities. For today's topic, we all know that an important precursor to grant seeking is partnership development. Especially when we're talking about federal grants, most opportunities will require strong partnerships. For many agencies, including the Department of Education, the trends over the last several years have been to direct funding to state agencies. This may take the form of block grants to states, with statewide competitions to re-grant funds held later, or it may take the form of competitive grant competitions at the national level, where only some states will be successful. In either scenario, for stations to access those funds, they need to have strong relationships with their state agencies. Next, we'll take a look at one grant program that's getting a lot of attention in the news these days, the Department of Education's Race to the Top grants. We're pleased to share that a number of stations have successfully partnered with their states on Race to the Top grants. The Grant Center has put together a document that you can download from our website after this webinar to learn more about how Maryland Public Television, Georgia Public Broadcasting, Nashville Public Television, and WGBH are making these projects happen. To talk to us about the importance of the signature Obama grant program, we're again joined by our friends at Penn Hill. Donna Petrosius will walk us through some of the history, the priorities, and the future funding for this major grant program. She's here to provide us with some background as we shift our focus a little more specifically to the Race to the Top grant program.
Great. Hi, everybody. It's great to be here today. And Terry, thank you for that presentation. I think, we here at Penn Hill Group are just seeing the writing on the wall that more and more states are, regardless of the program, not just Race to Top, but across the board, are becoming more and more critical. And two things we're seeing, I'll just note. One is that states are being asked to do more and more in terms of, things like Race to the Top. They're having more control vis-a-vis federal policy. You see these waivers. And the potential legislation coming down the pike in the next couple of years, if ESEA and other laws get reauthorized, that there is likely to be more SEA control. I think another cross-section that we're seeing is that states, SEAs, while they're anxious, interested, and happy to get more control, behind closed doors, most of them would admit that they don't have the capacity to do everything they need to do, and that's really the big opportunity here for all of you. We're going into this calendar year is going into the fourth phase of this. We had the initial Race to the Top funded in 2009 after President Obama came in and had all the stimulus spending. Then the initial $4.35 billion was spent out in two phases. Last year's appropriation allowed for $700 million, which was split into two pots. One is for the third phase of the traditional Race to the Top, plus a $500 million advancement in early learning. This December, they passed final appropriations for this year that allows for $549 million for Race to the Top. So in this calendar year, we expect to see pretty quickly, or not quickly, but readily, some information, guidance, and application requirements type of stuff going out on Race to the Top. Some of the things we do know, nothing is set in stone because the Department of Ed has a lot of discretion over how to create, spend, write Race to the Top, any funding for it, because it's never been a legislative item. There is no law behind it. It has always been directed by appropriations, and they have an enormous amount of discretion about how to implement it. Philosophically, Race to the Top is really about a place for the Department of Ed, the administration, to put their stamp on reform, and it's really geared around four key elements: closing achievement gaps, improving graduation rates, and college and career readiness. And it's one of the more flexible pots of money, despite the fact that you have to do very specific things. States are getting the money, and they kind of run with it. I'll say there's also been some of the priorities that have been put in there have changed over time. So the original grant was those four elements of reform that I mentioned around graduation rates and closing achievement gaps. Other ones have had a little bit of focus on STEM, for example, and Phase 3 had a focus. Then we saw the breakout for early learning. I think that it's possible the Department of Ed could decide that there will be other priorities in this round. So we'll be watching that. But certainly all of the areas, early learning, STEM, have all been great fits for a lot of public media work, and we would hope to capitalize on that if there's another priority that's part of the next